What's going on, guys? Dropaduski here. Today we're going to cover 7 different potential starter builds for the Betrayal League. Now, when picking builds to share with you guys, I wanted to make sure they fit certain criteria. One, I've played them all, tried them all, and have enjoyed every single one of the builds that I'm going to share with you. 2, they have to be very new player friendly. I wanted to find things that will be comfortable for somebody that's just getting into the game, and also have a thorough section in the forum posts about getting from day 1 to end game. A lot of times certain builds look really cool, but you have no idea how they got through the leveling process. All of these have that covered. Now, these are not my custom builds. They are builds that I've followed, and I do recommend that in the beginning as a new player. You're going to want to get a feel for the game and different skills and kind of use different builds that are out there in order to find your niche, and then you can start working on crafting your own. I will have some custom builds coming out this league. We've started working on a few, but for starters, these are really strong and they really will help you to hit the ground running, getting that currency, getting that juicy loot, and having a very successful league. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The first build we're going to go over today is Arc Traps. Now, Arc Traps is one of the first builds I played when I started playing Path of Exile a couple of leagues ago, and I've played it many times since. It's a very, very fun build to play, and for new players out there, it is super, super easy to level. Now, starting from level 1, you get a super strong skill. At level 12, you switch over to Arc Traps, and that's it. You're playing the build all the way to end game. Now, this build can do all of the content, including Uber Elder, and it's also pretty quick at mapping. So overall, it's a really well-rounded build. Other things to note is it's very cheap to get rolling, but you can invest a lot of currency into it, increasing its power and making it much, much stronger when doing the high-end bosses later on. Now, the one con I will mention with this build is it does require some mechanical skill with your movement abilities. You cannot take really big hits from some of the stronger enemies in the game, so as you progress as a player, you're going to need to master your movement skills and dodge the big hits later on so that you can survive the encounter. But it does plenty of damage, and it will clear everything for you as you get better at playing it. Now, I have included RYVENN'S build in the description below. It's a very solid guide, and it does include a very thorough leveling section. Whether you're new to the game or new to Arc, I definitely recommend this build as it's a lot of fun to play. The next build we're going to look at is Blade Vortex Elementalist. Now, I've played this build multiple times, and it can kill everything in the game. Now, some of the pros of this build, it's really easy to level. I mean, once you get Blade Vortex rolling, you're basically face tanking everything all the way to maps. It's very, very quick. It can do mapping very fast, and it can get through all of the content no problem. Now, some of the cons. A lot of people think that it's a little bit clicky. You do have to continuously keep those blades up, so as they start to wear off, you've got to recast them and keep them going as you go through. As you go through the tree, you will get nodes that will increase its duration, but until you have those, it is more clicky than some other builds that you may play. Now, this build was impacted by some of the changes at 3.5. The Impulsa's damage numbers were brought down, and stat sticks were nerfed. In order to test its viability for a starter build for next league, I brought my Impulsa levels down, and I'm using no stat sticks whatsoever with this setup. So overall, I think it's a really, really good pick for new players, especially as the leveling process is so smooth. The link in the description below will be GHAZZY'S setup. I've done it multiple times. It still works great. If you're brand new to the game, I definitely recommend this if you're looking for a melee / spell build, as it's a lot of fun to play. The next build we're going to look at, I threw in here because I really like the skill. It's a Frostblade setup. Now, Frostblades, another reason I threw this in is because this is one of the skills that already used both hands for the melee attack. So it was not affected by the stat stick change. Some of the pros of this build are it's really, really fast for mapping. For a melee build, it's got insane AoE, so as you can see in the video above, it spreads out and just sprays and slaughters everything. It's really, really satisfying. Plus, you're using whirling blades for movement, so you're just flipping around all over the map. Some of the cons, it's not great for single target. I have done some testing with it, and if you flip out your frost blades and your multi-strike gems and put in blade flurry and melee to physical damage, it works perfectly fine for bosses. So there are a lot of builds out there that you flip gems in order to kill the boss, and this is one of them. So I definitely consider that a con. Outside of that, it's a really fun, satisfying build to play, and if you're looking for something different and melee based, then Frostblades is really cool to try out. Now, the build guide that I will link in the description below is Reload's. He's been messing around with Frostblades for a long time, looks like, and he has a pretty in-depth written guide and also YouTube guide attached. So definitely check it out if you're interested in doing a melee build that's a little different and a lot of fun. The next build we're going to cover is Essence Drain or ED Contagion. Now this build is very unique and cool. It does damage over time abilities. So what you do is curse the ground with Contagion, then you hit an enemy that's cursed with Essence Drain or ED, and then when they die, it spreads to everything nearby. So what's really cool is as you're shield charging through and things are dying, if you get an area with nice density, as you can see, it'll just melt everything in its path. This build has been around for a while, and some of the pros are it's super cheap to get rolling and you can level with it, but you can also invest into it to make it very powerful later on. Some of the cons are it does take some getting used to in the beginning to make sure that you got that drop your curse, hit them with ED, continue to move the spread, but once you get it down, it's so satisfying. Now the forum post that we're going to have below is GHAZZY'S build. It's super popular, been viewed thousands of times, and it's kind of a mainstay for a lot of people on League starters. So if you're looking for something different and something that has that melt slash curse feel to it, then definitely go with ED. It's super unique and cool. The next build we're going to look at is Glacial Cascade Mines, or GC Mines. This build uses the Shadow with the Saboteur Ascendancy, and it's really cool looking and does a lot of damage. Now, one thing I will point out as a potential downside is it does take a little practice to get used to the interaction of placing the mines and detonating them, as that's how you have to play it. But once you've done it for a little while, it does feel very comfortable, and it's really safe. It does a lot of damage, and it can kill all the bosses in the game. So if you're interested in doing a build that can kind of do everything, this is a really, really good option for new players. Now, early on, it doesn't cost much to get rolling, but you can invest a lot as you progress through the league. Now, the one that I will be featuring in the comments below is WARLORD'S GC Miner. This is the one I've set up and I'm playing in the video above. It's very, very strong, and it does have a good leveling section. So for those of you guys interested in trying out mines and getting a feel for that interaction, this is a really good starting place for the Betrayal League. The next build we're going to look at is a champion Reave based build. Now, most of these builds did get hit pretty hard with the stat stick changes, but this one, which I've been playing with a bunch lately, is very strong still and can do all the content in the game. Now, one thing I will say, as you progress further into the league, these builds and other melee builds are going to be a little, up in the air in regards to what they're going to need or require in order to kill, things like Uber and whatnot without the stat sticks. But as you're starting out in the league, they're definitely viable for mapping, doing almost all of the content, and they're a lot of fun to play. So I definitely wanted to throw in another melee option for you guys. Now, this is Captain Warlord's setup. I will put a link in the description below, and his forum post is very in-depth and really, really cool looking. So if you guys are interested in doing something melee based and don't want to do the Frostblades that we showed earlier, this is definitely a viable option. The last build I want to go over today is a Spectre build. Now, Necromancer builds are really, really new player friendly. One of the, if not the first build I ever played in Path of Exile was a Necromancer build with summoned skeletons and specters. I played these types of builds many, many times, and they're really fun to play. Now, one thing to note here is that the major con of playing a Spectre-based build is re-summoning your specters. Solar Guards are one of the best specters in the game, and every once in a while they either die or you lose them, and it's kind of a pain in the ass because you have to go back and get them. But other than that, this build is really powerful. It can do almost all the content with ease, and it's just fun watching your Spectres blow everything up. So if you're interested in Necromancer builds, I definitely recommend this. I did grab one of Angry Role Player's guides that he just updated today. It's ready for 3.5, so like I said, very first build I played when I came over to play some Path of Exile was a Necromancer build with Spectres. It's super fun for new players, and I definitely recommend it. Okay guys, I hope you like these builds that I went through. Now, of course, there are tons of other options, but I wanted to make sure that the builds that I picked were super easy for new players to follow and level, and also things that I've played myself. Now, this is going to be the start of my 3rd league, and I've played probably at least 18 to 20 different builds over the last 2 leagues, as I wanted to try and find the thing that fit me best. So what I do recommend for those of you guys that are starting out there is just explore, try different things, get yourself something comfortable to start with, as all of these are. Farm yourself some currency, and then just start trying different abilities and enjoying Path of Exile. One of the greatest things about this game, that at least in my opinion, is there's so much variety and versatility. Now, don't forget, we stream on Twitch 5 days a week. That's twitch.tv/Dropaduski. Stop by anytime if you have questions on some of these builds or potentially other builds that you want to play. Like I said, there's tons of other starters out there, but these are super new player friendly. I hope everybody has a fantastic Betrayal League. I think it's going to be fucking awesome, and I can't wait for it to start tomorrow. We'll see you guys out there, and good luck in the league. Peace.